Welcome to today's video, where we embark on a profound exploration of one of humanity's most enduring questions. Does God exist? Today, we'll delve into this question through the lens of Buddhism, a rich and ancient tradition that offers unique insights into the nature of existence, spirituality, and the divine. Rather than providing a simple yes or no answer, we'll journey through the teachings of the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, to uncover his perspective on this complex topic. Buddhism, one of the world's major religions, originated over 2,500 years ago with the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama, who became known as the Buddha. Siddhartha was born into a royal family in the Shakya clan, in what is now modern-day Nepal. As a prince, he lived a sheltered life, surrounded by luxury and protected from the harsh realities of the world. However, his encounters with an old man, a sick person, a dead body, and a wandering ascetic profoundly impacted him. These sights, known as the Four Sights, revealed to him the inescapable nature of human suffering. Troubled by these revelations, Siddhartha renounced his royal status and embarked on a spiritual quest to understand the nature of suffering and find a way to overcome it. He experimented with various forms of asceticism and self-denial, believing that mortifying the flesh could liberate the spirit. However, after 6 years of extreme ascetic practices that brought him close to death, Siddhartha realized that neither extreme self-indulgence nor extreme self-mortification could lead to enlightenment. This realization led him to discover the middle way, a path of moderation and balance. One fateful night, Siddhartha sat beneath the Bodhi tree, vowing not to rise until he had attained enlightenment. Through deep meditation and profound insight, he experienced a series of transformative realizations. He understood the true nature of existence, the causes of suffering, and the path to its cessation. This enlightenment transformed him into the Buddha, the awakened one. The Buddha's teachings, collectively known as the Dharma, are centered around the Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth acknowledges the existence of suffering, dukkha, in life. This suffering encompasses physical pain, emotional distress, and the existential dissatisfaction inherent in the human condition. The second noble truth identifies the cause of suffering as craving or desire, tanha. This craving arises from attachment to transient things and is the root cause of the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, samsara. The third noble truth offers hope by proclaiming that the cessation of suffering, nirodha, is possible. By extinguishing craving and attachment, one can achieve nirvana, a state of liberation and ultimate peace. The fourth noble truth outlines the path to nirvana through the Noble Eightfold Path. This practical guide includes right understanding, right intent, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Buddhism differs from many other major religions in its approach to spirituality. It does not posit the existence of a creator god or supreme deity. Instead, it focuses on individual enlightenment and liberation through ethical living, meditation, and wisdom. The concept of dependent origination, pratyasamutpada, further emphasizes the interconnectedness of all phenomena, rejecting the notion of an eternal, unchanging self or soul, anatta. The Buddha's teachings spread throughout Asia, evolving into various schools and traditions, each adapting the core principles to their cultural contexts. Despite these variations, the essence of the Buddha's message remains the same, a path to understanding the nature of suffering and achieving a state of lasting peace and happiness. The question of whether a god exists has been a topic of debate among philosophers and theologians for millennia. When it comes to Buddhism, the Buddha's teachings provide a unique perspective on this question. Unlike many other religious founders, the Buddha did not emphasize the existence of a supreme creator god. Instead, his focus was on the practical aspects of overcoming suffering and achieving enlightenment. In the early texts of the Pali Canon, there are numerous instances where the Buddha addresses questions about the existence of gods. When asked directly about the existence of a creator god, the Buddha often redirected the conversation towards the practicalities of the spiritual path. He emphasized that such metaphysical speculations could distract individuals from the primary goal of ending suffering and attaining nirvana. One of the most famous instances of the Buddha's approach to this question is found in the parable of the poisoned arrow. In this parable, the Buddha compares a person who speculates about metaphysical questions to someone who, having been struck by a poisoned arrow, refuses to have it removed until he knows everything about the person who shot it, their caste, their family, the type of bow used, and so on. The Buddha suggests that, like the injured person, those who are caught up in such speculations are missing the immediate need to address their suffering. The Buddha's teachings emphasize personal experience and the direct observation of reality through meditation and mindfulness. He encouraged his followers to investigate the nature of their own minds and the phenomena around them. This empirical approach led to the development of various meditation techniques designed to cultivate insight and wisdom. In the Kalama Sutta, the Buddha advises the Kalamas, a group of skeptical villagers, to question everything and not to accept teachings blindly, even his own. He urges them to rely on their own experience and reason to determine what leads to harm and suffering and what leads to well-being and happiness. This pragmatic approach to spirituality emphasizes the importance of personal verification over dogmatic belief. While the Buddha did not deny the existence of deities, he considered them to be part of the samsaric cycle, beings who, like humans, are subject to birth, death, and rebirth. These deities, however powerful, were not eternal and did not play a role in the creation or ultimate salvation of beings. Instead, the Buddha taught that liberation from suffering is achieved through one's own efforts in following the Noble Eightfold Path. The Buddha's answer to the question of whether a God exists is nuanced and pragmatic. He shifted the focus from speculative metaphysics to the practical pursuit of enlightenment and the end of suffering. By emphasizing personal experience, ethical conduct, and mindfulness, the Buddha provided a path that transcends the need for a creator God, offering instead a method for individuals to achieve their own liberation. In Buddhist teachings, the concept of a third person often arises in discussions about the nature of self and perception. The Buddha's insights into the nature of self challenge many common assumptions about personal identity and individuality. One of the core principles of Buddhism is anatta, or non-self. This doctrine asserts that there is no permanent, unchanging self or soul within individuals. Instead, what we consider the self is a collection of constantly changing physical and mental components, known as the five aggregates: skandhas, form, physical body; sensation, feelings; perception, recognition; mental formations, thoughts and intentions; and consciousness, awareness. The third-person perspective in Buddhism refers to viewing oneself not as an independent entity, but as part of a larger interconnected process. This perspective is cultivated through practices such as meditation and mindfulness, which help practitioners observe their thoughts and sensations without attachment or identification. For example, in the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha outlines the practice of mindfulness meditation, encouraging practitioners to observe their bodies, feelings, minds, and mental objects with detachment and clarity. By doing so, they can see the impermanent and interdependent nature of these experiences, leading to a deeper understanding of anatta. The story of the blind men and the elephant, a parable used in various Buddhist traditions, illustrates the importance of understanding the whole rather than clinging to a partial view. In this story, a group of blind men each touch a different part of an elephant and come to different conclusions about what the elephant is like. One touches the trunk and thinks it is a snake. Another touches the leg and thinks it is a tree, and so on. The Buddha uses this story to demonstrate how limited perspectives can lead to misunderstanding and conflict. Similarly, clinging to the notion of a permanent self is seen as a limited and ultimately misleading perspective. Through the practice of mindfulness and the cultivation of wisdom, Buddhists aim to transcend these limited perspectives and realize the true nature of existence. This realization involves understanding the interconnectedness of all things and the absence of a permanent, independent self. By adopting the third-person perspective, practitioners can overcome the delusions that lead to suffering and achieve a state of equanimity and insight. In this way, Buddhism challenges us to look beyond our immediate, subjective experience and consider a broader, more interconnected view of reality. This shift in perspective is fundamental to the path of enlightenment, offering a profound way to understand and navigate the complexities of life. The question of whether a god created human beings is a common one in many religious traditions. In Buddhism, however, the concept of creation by a supreme deity is generally absent. The Buddha's teachings focus on the nature of existence, the causes of suffering, and the path to liberation, rather than on metaphysical speculations about creation. From a Buddhist perspective, the idea of a creator god raises several philosophical issues. If a benevolent and omnipotent God created the world, why is there so much suffering and injustice? This question, often referred to as the problem of evil, is addressed in different ways by various religious traditions, but Buddhism offers a unique approach. Buddhism posits that the universe operates according to the law of karma, which states that all actions have consequences. These consequences, whether immediate or delayed, shape the course of our lives and our experiences. The law of karma is impersonal and operates without the need for a divine being to administer it. This natural law explains the diversity of life experiences and the presence of suffering in the world. The Buddha taught that human beings and all other beings are subject to the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, samsara. This cycle is driven by ignorance, avidya, and craving, tanha, which lead to the accumulation of karma. Liberation from this cycle is achieved through the cultivation of wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline, culminating in the realization of nirvana. In the Agana Sutta, the Buddha addresses questions about the origin of the world and the nature of social order. Rather than attributing creation to a god, the Buddha describes a gradual process of evolution and degeneration, emphasizing the role of karma and moral conduct in shaping the conditions of life. This sutta illustrates the Buddha's pragmatic approach to questions about creation and existence, focusing on ethical and practical considerations, rather than speculative metaphysics. If one were to consider the hypothetical scenario of a god creating human beings, Buddhism would still emphasize the importance of individual responsibility and the pursuit of enlightenment. The presence of a creator god would not change the fundamental Buddhist teachings about the nature of suffering, the impermanence of all things, and the path to liberation. The focus would remain on understanding the causes of suffering and working to alleviate it through ethical conduct, meditation, and wisdom. In this way, Buddhism provides a practical framework for addressing existential questions and navigating the challenges of life. Whether or not a creator god exists, the path to enlightenment and the cessation of suffering lies within each individual's efforts to cultivate mindfulness, compassion, and insight. Ananda was one of the Buddha's closest disciples and his personal attendant for many years. His relationship with the Buddha provides valuable insights into the Buddha's teachings and the practical application of those teachings in daily life. Ananda was known for his exceptional memory and his devotion to the Buddha. It is said that he could recall every word of the Buddha's teachings, which played a crucial role in the preservation and transmission of the Dharma after the Buddha's passing. Ananda's close association with the Buddha allowed him to witness many of the Buddha's interactions with other disciples and laypeople, providing a rich source of stories and teachings. One of the most significant episodes involving Ananda is his role in the establishment of the Bhikkhuni Sangha, the order of nuns. Initially, the Buddha was reluctant to admit women into the monastic community, but Ananda's persuasive arguments, emphasizing the capability of women to achieve enlightenment, led to the founding of the Bhikkhuni Sangha. This event highlights the importance of compassion, equality, and inclusivity in the Buddha's teachings. Ananda also played a key role in the events leading up to the Buddha's death. According to the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, Ananda was deeply distressed when he realized that the Buddha was approaching the end of his life. The Buddha comforted him, reminding him of the impermanence of all things and the importance of striving for enlightenment. This poignant interaction underscores the central Buddhist themes of impermanence and the necessity of personal effort in the spiritual path. Despite his close relationship with the Buddha, Ananda initially struggled to achieve enlightenment. It was only after the Buddha's death, during the first Buddhist council, that Ananda attained enlightenment through diligent practice and meditation. This illustrates that even those who are close to great spiritual teachers must ultimately rely on their own efforts to attain liberation. The stories of Ananda and the Buddha also emphasize the importance of listening and retaining the teachings, as well as the role of supportive relationships in the spiritual journey. Ananda's dedication and service to the Buddha serve as an example of the qualities of humility, devotion, and perseverance that are essential for progress on the path to enlightenment. Through the relationship between the Buddha and Ananda, we gain a deeper understanding of the practical application of the Buddha's teachings and the ways in which those teachings can be integrated into daily life. Ananda's experiences remind us that the path to enlightenment is a personal journey that requires dedication, effort, and a willingness to learn and grow. The practice of mindfulness and meditation is central to Buddhist practice, and it extends even to the way one approaches sleep and rest. The concept of being unmoving in sleep refers to maintaining a state of awareness and equanimity even during rest, highlighting the profound integration of mindfulness in all aspects of life. In Buddhist teachings, sleep is viewed as a natural and necessary part of life, but it is also a time when the mind can wander and become susceptible to delusions and attachments. To counter this, practitioners are encouraged to cultivate mindfulness and awareness before, during, and after sleep. This practice helps to ensure that the mind remains clear and focused, reducing the chances of being overwhelmed by negative emotions or thoughts. One technique often used by Buddhist practitioners is the practice of sleep yoga or dream yoga, particularly emphasized in Tibetan Buddhism. This practice involves maintaining a state of awareness while falling asleep and even attempting to remain conscious during dreams. The goal is to recognize the illusory nature of dreams, which serves as a metaphor for the illusory nature of waking reality. By realizing this, practitioners can develop greater insight into the nature of consciousness and reality. Before going to sleep, practitioners might engage in specific meditation practices, such as reflecting on the day's actions, reciting mantras, or visualizing peaceful and positive images. These practices help to set a positive mental state that can carry over into sleep, promoting restful and restorative rest while minimizing the impact of disturbing thoughts or emotions. During sleep, maintaining a posture of equanimity is also considered important. In traditional Buddhist teachings, sleeping on the right side in the lion's posture, similar to the posture the Buddha is said to have adopted during his final passing, is recommended. This posture is believed to facilitate calmness and mindfulness, even during unconscious states. The practice of being unmoving in sleep also involves the cultivation of lucid dreaming, where the practitioner becomes aware that they are dreaming and can consciously influence the dream. This practice is not only a way to explore the workings of the mind, but also a method to confront and transform subconscious fears and attachments. Upon waking, practitioners are encouraged to immediately recall their meditation practice and re-establish a state of mindfulness. This transition from sleep to wakefulness becomes a seamless continuation of their mindfulness practice, reinforcing the importance of awareness in all states of being. The teachings on being unmoving in sleep highlight the comprehensive nature of Buddhist practice, where mindfulness and awareness are not limited to formal meditation sessions, but are integrated into every aspect of life. This holistic approach helps practitioners develop a continuous and unbroken state of mindfulness, which is essential for the path to enlightenment. In conclusion, the practice of being unmoving in sleep reflects the deep commitment to mindfulness and awareness that characterizes Buddhist practice. By extending mindfulness into the realm of sleep, practitioners can cultivate a more profound understanding of the mind and develop the skills necessary to achieve lasting peace and enlightenment.